Hi everyone, it's Richard McMahon from the Career Guidance Company, howtobecome.com, and in this presentation I'm going to give you some really good tips that will help you prepare effectively for the tough RAF officer interview. Okay, so I'm going to give you some really good pieces of advice. I'll give you some sample questions, etc. We'll talk a little bit about current affairs because that's really important too. So make sure you've got a pen and some paper with you and take notes of the hints and tips that I'll give you. My advice is to watch the video from beginning to end. If you've then got any questions, please pop them in the comments box below this video, or if you've got your own take on some of the things that I've said, please share that with me as well. So let's get straight into it. So let me give you some kind of questions to be prepared for. Okay, we're going to go through quite a few of these. When you're preparing for the Royal Air Force officer interview, you will be asked a number of questions that are relatively easy based on personal questions such as questions around your application form, and then it'll be like questions, motivational questions, why you want to join the Royal Air Force, why you've chosen the Royal Air Force as opposed to the Army and the Royal Navy. So the reasons why you want to join. Okay, so they're personal questions, they're motivational questions, and also situational questions, which are a lot harder. For example, you might get asked a question, can you give us an example of where you've already managed or led individuals or a group of people? These are the kind of questions that catch people out because more often than not, people won't have that kind of experience, but you have to go out there and get it. You can't say, I've got no prior experience of managing people, yet you're trying to join the Royal Air Force where you'll be required to manage people. So you have to have some kind of management experience. It doesn't mean to say that you need to manage a large group of people, but maybe you've managed small groups of people, or you've even shadowed a manager at work, okay? Or you've managed projects, some kind of management ability or leadership qualities. And then also current affairs, they're really, really important. You need to do a lot of work with regards to current affairs, and I'll do a section dedicated to that within this video. So just to recap, those are the questions we'll need to be prepared for. Personal questions, questions relating to your application form, kind of things you do at home, what do you do in your spare time. Motivational questions, why you want to join and the kind of things that you've done in preparation for life in the Royal Air Force. Situational questions, can you give an example of where you've managed, led a group of people, where you've had to communicate to large groups of people, and questions related to current affairs. So, the reasons why you want to join the RAF. So prepare for these kind of questions, the reasons why you want to join, the reasons why you want to particularly become an officer, and you need to be able to back that up with reasons why, and what choice of career or branch you are most interested in, and the reason for choosing that particular career, and the skills you have to match the role. Now, it's okay saying I want to be an engineering officer, but what skills, qualities, and attributes do you already have to match that? If you want to be a pilot, what skills, qualities, and attributes do you already have to match that particular role? So you need to know about the role before you're applying to become an RAF officer, and more importantly, going to interview. What information you already know about the Royal Air Force, its lifestyle and its training, because you're going to get asked a question, tell me about the training that you're going to undergo for your particular chosen branch. Information relating to your hobbies and interests, including sporting and team activities. So, sporting and team activities are really, really important. Yes, you need to be able to work alone, you need to be able to lead people, but more importantly, you have to work as part of a team. Any personal responsibilities that you currently have either at home, in education, or at work. So they're looking for people who've got a history of taking responsibility, okay? Taking responsibility and being the first person to go, yeah, I'll do that, sticking their hand up, I'll be in charge of that, and I'll take the lead role. Information about your family, your partner, and what they think about you joining. They don't want somebody who's been forced into this by their parents. You have to want to do it, but you also have to have the support of your parents and also your partner. What does your partner think about you joining? Because you're going to be away for a long period of time from home. Are they going to support you during this? Information based around your initial application. Know your initial application from beginning to end, especially if you're heading off to the OASC. You might have submitted your application a long time ago. Make sure you refresh yourself and know about key dates and times. Your experience of work and also your education history, your managerial and leadership experiences to date. It's no good going through to this without any managerial or leadership experience. As I said before, you don't have to have held a particular managerial role in a job, even though it would be more beneficial, but maybe you've managed or led a group or some kind of organisation at university or at school or college where you've taken responsibility or you've managed a project. Or, and this is a good one, if you do not have any prior experience, ask your manager whether you can shadow him or her to find out, what they do on a day-to-day basis. Your emotional stability and your level of maturity, very important. Your drive and determination to succeed and having a positive reaction to a disciplined environment and towards people in positions of authority. So if they said, tell us about your teachers at school, you don't want to go, he or she was a right old idiot. You don't want to be saying things like that. You want to be positive about them. Even if you didn't get on well with them, they're in a position of authority. So you don't want to go criticising your teachers or your people in positions of authority. So let's have a look at some sample interview RAF officer questions. What sports are you currently engaged in? You should be involved in sports. What sporting achievements have you gained? You've been part of a team where you've achieved sporting accolades or you've won competitions. Have you been part of any youth organisations such as the Air Cadets, Scouts or the Guides? Great if you have. Describe your hobbies and interests. Are you currently employed either full-time or part-time? It's good to have some kind of employment under your belt. What did you used to do during your school holidays or time off work? So if you're working, what do you do in your time off work? Try and think about things you do. Do you go off yourself? Do you go walking or hiking in the hills? Do you go to sporting events? They're not looking for people who are just, going out on the beers all weekend and, just socialising all the time. They want to see that you're using and managing your spare time wisely. Have you ever travelled? If so, where and when did you go and what did you gain from the experiences? What are your future ambitions and plans? So they don't want somebody who's going to go, well, I just plan to stay in the Royal Air Force for a few years and then I'm going to move on to something else. Okay, they want people who are going to be there long term and committed. What jobs have you had to date? So list the jobs. What responsibilities did you have during each particular job role? Why did you leave each job? Okay, have the reason why. You don't want to be saying again, and this goes back to having respect for people in positions of authority. Oh, I left the job because I didn't get on with the boss. I thought he was an idiot. Have respect for people, even if you didn't necessarily get on with them. Did you complete any courses or gain any qualifications during each job? Who did you have to communicate with in each job? So they want to see that you're able to communicate with large groups of people. The more, the better. Were you part of a team or did you have to work alone? And what were your appraisals like? Okay. And if you didn't have appraisals, you should really be asking for them for your employer. A lot of employers don't give appraisals, but if you're in a job at the moment, ask for one. Say, look, is it possible to have an appraisal? I'm applying to join the Royal Air Force and I need to, they want to know what your appraisals were like, but also how you responded to what they told you during the appraisal. So here's some really important RAF officer interview tips. A firm handshake when you come in demonstrates a lot about your character. Be to the point and concise. Don't waffle. Hold even eye contact with each boarding officer. They're not looking for you to stare them out aggressively, but, look them in the eye when you're speaking to them and hold even eye contact with each of them. Avoid hesitation such as because that shows that you are not prepared. Don't use slang. Sit upright in the chair and don't slouch. Be confident, but not overly so. They don't want people who are cocky or arrogant. Learn the key dates and events listed on your application form, as I mentioned before. Make yourself stand out from the crowd. Do something different in a positive way. Always be the first to stick the round up. Always be the first to start off a group discussion if you're going to the OASC, etc. Also, be aware of your weaknesses as well as your strengths. So know what your weaknesses are. We all have them, but just be aware of them. Identify your strengths and think before you speak. So I mentioned earlier on about current affairs. Current affairs are really, really important. You need to do a lot of work around this, a lot of study. So your knowledge of current affairs is a very important area of your preparation. And you have to carry out plenty of research in relation to current affairs. Not only will you need it during the interviews, but it will also assist you during things like the group discussion at the OASC. And here's a few important tips to help you research current affairs effectively. First tip, number one, be careful what papers you read. The type of paper you read can reflect you as a person. So if you say to the interviewer, I'm an avid reader of The Sun or the Daily Star, you might not be officer material in the build-up. Try and read a quality newspaper, maybe the Times or something else of that caliber. Tip number two, I strongly recommend that you subscribe to the magazine The Week. So you can go to the website theweek.co.uk. I think it's a fantastic journal that will break down the week's stories in appraisal format for you. And this will save you having to buy lots of different newspapers. Another one is to consider reading The Economist. Once again, this is a quality journal in my opinion, and it provides you with lots of current affairs information, and you can subscribe to that at the website economist.com. Next tip, don't just research affairs that are relevant to the Royal Air Force or the Armed Forces in general. Other topics are just as important. So the purpose of the current affairs section of the RAF Officer interviews is designed to assess how informed you are of current global affairs, not just relative to the armed forces. So you should have a general view on each subject and have an understanding of why that issue is important. I'll give you a structure to use in a minute when you're preparing for the current affairs section. Try to have a general view of the whole world with knowledge, specific knowledge of a number of issues and events. So use this format to help you research news and current affairs. What is the subject? So it might be Brexit. So the thing at the moment is Brexit, okay? What is the subject? Why is it significant? So you need to understand the impact of it, and not just the fact that, oh, okay, Brexit's going to impact not just everyone in the EU, it's about everyone in the world. You need to go deeper than that. What could be the consequences, and what are also the positive aspects of it? What is your opinion on it? You need to have an opinion. Don't sit on the fence, have an opinion, but be able to back up that opinion. So sample current affairs questions. Take me on a tour of the world and tell me what's caught your eye in the news recently. Tell me about 6 current affairs from abroad and 6 from home. Tell me about a news story from each continent. That's a good one to be prepared for. A few websites there for you to go and study current affairs, the bbc.co.uk/news, Times Online, the North Atlantic Treaty Organisation website, the Ministry of Defence website as well. Make sure you research key affairs from across the world, have a broad knowledge of current affairs, research affairs that have happened in the last 12 months, but focus in more detail on events in the last 6 months. My advice is to select 6 topics from home. Example, NHS, Brexit, for example. Obviously, these will change as things go on. Select 6 topics for away affairs. Make sure that you use examples from right across the world. Engage an opinion on each affair. You'll need to be able to argue your point in a positive way. We don't want someone who's easily swayed. So you have to say, well, this is my view on Brexit, or this is my view on the NHS. I respect everyone else's opinion, but this is my view. So let's have a look at a few RAF officer sample interview questions. These are just a few that I've picked across the range. Can you tell me whereabouts in the world the Royal Air Force are operating right now? So could you answer this question right now? If you put plenty of work into your preparation, then you'll undoubtedly get to find out the whereabouts of the RAF or where they are around the world. Now, of course, this is going to change as the weeks and months progress, but one of the most effective ways to find out is to go to the website, the Ministry of Defence website at www.mod.uk. So if I quickly go to that, you can see this website on the Ministry of Defence. You've got the Royal Navy, the British Army, and the Royal Air Force. So you can, like here, 25th of May, update airstrikes against Daesh. The RAF are continuing to take the fight to Daesh in Syria. So you've got more things going on here. Really good website to go to. You can click the Royal Air Force as well, and it will take you through to the Royal Air Force website. But this website is one of the key areas that you should be focusing on. Okay, so that's mod.uk. From here, you'll be able to assess the incident, access instant and up-to-date information relevant to the Royal Air Force's current operations. Remember to regularly check the website for updates. What do you think the qualities of a good team player are? So if you are going to be a Royal Air Force officer, you need to know what the qualities of a good team player are, because you're going to be managing a team of men and women. Okay, so it's basically an ability to interact and work with others regardless of their age, sex, religion, sexual orientation, background, disability or appearance. Being able to communicate with everyone in the team and provide the appropriate level of support and encouragement, because you'll have to encourage members of your team. Being capable of carrying out tasks correctly, professionally, and in accordance with guidelines and regulations. Being focused on the team's goal, what is the ultimate goal. Having a flexible attitude and approach to the task, and also having a flexible plan if required. Putting the needs of the team first before your own. Putting personal differences aside for the sake of the team. You're not going to get on with everybody. Okay, you're not going to get on with everybody in the Royal Air Force. Yeah, you'll get on with most people, but there will be people, as in any kind of job, that you don't get on with, and you have to put your personal differences aside. Being able to listen to others' suggestions and contributions when responding to this type of question, it's an advantage if you could back up your response with an example of where you have already worked as part of a team. Another one, name 5 different RAF bases and their roles. Okay, so this is about your knowledge of the Royal Air Force. Here's my sample response. During my research, I studied the many different air bases And I even managed to visit a couple of them. The first airbase that I study is RAF Bryce Norton, which is based near Oxfordshire. This airbase is the largest in the UK, and from here the RAF operate air transportation services and air refuelling operations, in addition to holding larger numbers of aircraft such as the VC-10, the TriStar K1. It's also the home of the parachute training school. Then there's RAF Gibraltar, which is manned by RAF staff. There are no aircraft based there, but the airbase is still used by many visiting aircraft. Although I have never visited Gibraltar, I'm aware of its significance as an RAF base. RAF Honington is located at Bury St Edmunds, Suffolk, and this is the RAF Regiment Depot. Aircraft have not been at this base since 1993. RAF Uxbridge is based in Middlesex, and this is the home of the number 63 RAF Regiment Squadron, and is also the headquarters for music services. And finally, I studied RAF Odiham, which is located in Hampshire. Based at RAF Odiham on the number of different Chinook helicopter squadrons, such as number 7 Squadron, number 18 Squadron, and number 27. Okay, so what I want you to do now is to carry on the preparation. I hope you found that useful, but to carry on and accelerate your learning further, I want you to click the link below the video to get more help for preparing for the RAF Officer interview. It will take you through to my website here, and we've got a load of great information and more training videos on there and different things that you can do. You can get a guide if you want to on how to pass the RAF selection process, including the officer interview. So please click the link below the video. I hope you've enjoyed that video. I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up, because that will motivate me to do more. Don't forget to put your comments below this video on any questions, different things that you think people should prepare for, and subscribe to the channel as well. Really appreciate that as well. Thank you very much for listening. I wish you all the very best in your pursuit to becoming an RAF officer.